So welcome, Vanessa, and it's my great pleasure welcoming you and getting to know about you. This is the Pride Month, which is it's important for your community and also for us to learn about diversity, equity, and inclusion in true sense. So not just going into the theory of it, but we will straight away go into your life journey and try and understand what has been your challenges first, and then of course how you are helping the community with your contribution. So over to you, Vanessa. Tell me about yourself and your life journey.
Hi there, Priti. I'm most honored to be on your show and thank you for inviting me to speak about my community and about myself, about how I have experienced life. So, for all of you out there, I'm Vanessa and I'm part of the LGBT community in the section of transgender. But of course, I'm moving to a stage. Actually, I'm already at that stage where I consider myself as a woman, and that is how I want to be portrayed in society. So, how did my journey begin? Actually, my journey began when I was at the age of 5, where I realized that I was a bit different. I was feeling different, and I always admired the female clothing, and I always imagined myself to be in one, especially when I joined my mother to watch beauty pageants.
Mhm.
I always envisioned myself to be walking down the ramp to be a beauty queen one day.
Okay.
So at age of 5, of course, you are very unsure yourself because nobody can make that decision of who you want to be at age of 5, where everything is still in the development stage. But as I went through many different phases of my life, I went through different experiences. I went through the cross-dressing stage at first, then I went through the gay stage, then I went through the bisexual stage. Eventually, I ended up at the stage I want to be at. I want to be a woman, and of course, I faced many challenges with my parents. They are not very accepting about who I want to be, and I went through many phases of pain, hardship, and there was a point of time where I wanted to give up everything. I told myself that why should I go through this stage of my life? Because I will only suffer pain. So at a certain point of time, I actually wanted to be normal again. I just wanted to get married, have a girlfriend, settle down, go to gym, build myself up. But somehow when I was dating a girl, I still love going to boutiques. So there was a point of time where I was asking my girlfriend how to dress up, what makeup to buy. You know, she didn't actually find it weird at that time. But after a while, she was very curious about why I was so fascinated in dressing her up, how to do her makeup. This is where I opened up to her. Because eventually, how I tried to avoid my situation, Vanessa just came back. And of course, she was very pissed off, very angry with me. And, we had to break up the relationship. But that was the starting of my journey in becoming Vanessa. So now, because at that, now I was having a very clear mind to go where I wanted to be. But as I thought that I had a clear path, I hit another obstacle whereby I fell in love with a guy. But that guy didn't want me to transform, to go through a transition. But somehow I hinted to him that I will be going through a transition. But he tried to dissuade me, and my relationship with him was around 9 years. But eventually, I made that final decision that really sealed my fate in being Vanessa. And very unfortunately, he again left me. So there was another hardship that I had to face. But before him and me having a girlfriend, I had another boyfriend at a very early age, at around till the age of 20. But it was a hidden relationship. But that was the time where something very tragic happened to me. I was actually gang raped by he and his friends, and it made me suffer some mental illness. I faced depression and I faced anxiety. So I had to overcome. So this depression and anxiety somehow was inside me for many, many years. So even when I was going through my relationship with my girlfriend and next to my boyfriend, I was still suffering from depression, anxiety. And when I decided to step out as Vanessa, I was very frightened. My self-esteem was extremely very low. So you ask me to go to a boutique, I'll be very frightened to go in and I know what, marching up and down the front door of the boutique and such, and I'll be starting to sweat, and I'll be very nervous to go in. And I was afraid of what people would think of me or how people would look at me. And there was a time where I didn't want to go on stage at all. I was afraid of my name being called. So this was the challenges that I was actually facing at that time. No self-esteem, nervous, feeling depressed, and very frightened to go out, to actually move around. Sorry, that was a bit of a technical glitch.
No, it's okay. Perfect. Okay.
It's okay, right? Sorry, that was because there's a phone call coming in. Sorry, let me continue.
No worries.
So
Vanessa, yes,
wait,
please go.
I actually didn't know what to do. I was in a stage of having no confidence, having no self-esteem. Then I met Vanita. She actually didn't really help me to become Vanessa, but she somehow instilled me the confidence to do what I wanted to do. So that were my first baby steps, the preparation of the pageant, because somehow in my heart, I always wanted to be in a pageant, you know. I was very excited to be in a pageant. And when I was given a chance to organize one, I was totally very excited and happy to organize it. But then again, I wasn't doing it as Vanessa, I was doing it as my male form. And that was something that it was something that I was against. It was hindering what I can do best in life. So in the next season, I told Vanessa, I had to do this with Vanessa. I had to be who I wanted to be. And she allowed it. And I actually put myself in the deep side of the swimming pool. Because now all of a sudden, I'm just out as Vanessa. preparing something as Vanessa, I faced a few more challenges again. But I learned how to cope with these challenges. And with each challenge I face, about, like, for example, discrimination, how people talk about me, how I reacted to people, how all these challenges made me learn how to cope with society. Because it came to a point where I actually realized that people work in patterns. You know, it's like coming up a mountain and people start throwing stones at you. Eventually you realize that there's the way they throw the stones. So you will know how to wipe the stones that have been thrown at you. So that is how I learned to cope with the challenges. And slowly, bit by bit, I built up my confidence. And then my main challenge came where COVID came about. I was going to be confined in my own house. And, you know, my parents are anti-LGBT. Then, at that period of time, I used my books to help me. I actually created the worlds. I created imaginary worlds from the books that I actually was reading from. And I realized that the power of the mind can really help you to overcome things. And that is where I realized that to build up my confidence, I need to train my mind. So I started to read books that gave me confidence, those motivational books. And one of the books is called The Secret. So every day I was reaffirming myself. And that's how I grew in confidence, and I had a story to tell. And slowly that's how I grew, and I used that method to keep on growing my confidence every time. And so now with all this, I'm trying to help my my LGBT community to come out, to face the world. Because if you don't face it, if you don't experience pain and you don't experience those challenges, you cannot grow. You need to face it head on, tell yourself never give up, fall down, get up, fall down, get up continuously. Have the strength, have the resilience to fight it. And once you become confident, people will see that confidence in you and they will become confident in you. That is how I portray my energy, my confidence energy out. I don't give people a chance to attack me. I attack them first. I make them scared of me. Then after they'll tell themselves, no, I got no choice. I need to get along with her. Yeah.
So, thank you, Vanessa. You have beautifully explained, although I know a lot of, the pain and the blockages that you faced in your entire life. It's not easy to put those in words. I wanted you to highlight how was, like you did say that the transition or the realization phase was when you were at the age of 5, and I'm sure, and I did read a bit, and I've been doing my research on transgender community, and I realized that the deepest struggle comes from the family. It's the strain, the parent child relationship is very traumatic, and it's not just traumatic for the person but also for the parents. Did you notice anything from your parents' point of view? I'm sure your transition was very painful. Did you ever get a chance to see how your parents were coping with this fact that
Hey,
yes,
my parents come from the older generation. So it's very difficult for them to accept who I am. At the moment right now, I would say they are just making themselves blind to what is happening. No, I have my dresses in my cupboard. I put everything there. And I know when they open my cupboard, I can see their angry faces. But they're just putting a blind eye to it. So I actually be talking to my friends about how to approach them, and actually they have offered to approach them themselves. At the moment, I'm not very confident of going that path because I don't know how parents are going to react to this. But I'm still thinking of how to, come out to them, try to persuade them. But I can tell you that I love them a lot, and I'm actually taking care of them because they are staying with me. I'm the only daughter, so I'm taking care of them, and I entertain them. I buy their food, I make them happy. But at the same time, I know they are facing that the difficulty in accepting me, lah. So there's a bit of co- conflict here. But I try to make them as happy as possible, lah.
So that's amazing, Vanessa, that your parents are staying with you, because many of the transgender community, they part away from their parents and they never even, get a chance to go back to them. So I would consider that both your parents as well
Yeah.
as you are lucky in this
Okay.
sense.
On that point, it depends on the mindset of a transgender. The older generation of transgender than myself, I'm not trying to say I'm old, but we are more
You're
parental
young.
loving. Thank you. We are more parental loving. We understand the family. But the younger generation of transgenders, they are more bold. It's like, if you don't accept me, fine, I'm moving out. They are much more bold in that way. And they're willing to leave their house. And of course, some of them have asked me why I've not done it. Then I told them the reason. Because they are my parents. They gave birth to me. Without them, I won't be walking here talking to you at this point of time. So that is how I feel towards them. But they have a different concept. So it's like, I have my life to live. If you're gonna send me out, I'll go. But I think that's where we differ in our generation thinking. Lah. They're more
Yeah,
bold than me. Lah.
absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Yes. The present generation, they're very, very clear-headed. They
mm,
have absolute clarity of mind and they do not
yeah,
mind expressing your thoughts, even though
yeah.
that comes as a very bold move.
Mm.
Okay, I wanted to check. I also wanted our audience to know, where did you spend your childhood? Were you always in Singapore, or do you spend your childhood somewhere else?
Most of the time, I spend my childhood in Singapore. But part of it was in Malaysia because my mother is born in Malaysia. So every year we will go down to Malaysia. But but most of the time I always spend my time in Singapore.
And how are your relations with your grandparents?
My grandparents have already passed on.
Okay,
So
sorry.
actually honestly I only got to see my grandmother. One of my father's side, my grandfather died before I was born. Then my grandmother on my father's side died when I was about 5 years old. On my mother's side, my grandfather also passed on before I was born. So the only person longest I've seen is my mother's grandmother. My grandmother on my mother's side. I mean.
Okay.
She was
So
the one
do
that I
you
stayed with,
remember?
and she looked after me.
Um, so did she embrace, did she accept you the way you were?
No, I actually before she passed, after she passed on.
Okay. Okay. So I have also seen, like, you also mentioned about the time, the most difficult time wherein you wanted to be either not be a woman, basically be like another guy and lead a normal
Yeah,
life. I'm sure
yeah.
that must be the most difficult phase for you. You also mentioned that you also wanted to commit suicide. And as per the research, it's been found that 40% of transgender community commits or tries to commit suicide compared to the general public. So it's not easy. Like, you came out, I'm sure there must be some driving force. You were self-motivated. Were there anyone else around in your surrounding who helped you cope up with this, the moment wherein you just wanted to end your life? Is
You see, the strange thing is, I had a few suicide episodes, but every time when I wanted to commit suicide, my mother's face will appear. Because I have a very close relationship with my mother. And somehow it's because of my mother that I'm still alive. Because somehow I cannot leave her lah. Honestly, I cannot leave my mother. She's been the backbone of my life for as long as I know. You know, she created my religious background. She created my thinking, and yeah, I think my parents are the key factor. That's why in keeping me alive. I cannot abandon them. Somehow I just need to do after them.
So you actually you have made it your mission to take care of your parents, and that's your
Mm.
driving force. That's
Mm.
beautiful. Who is your idol in your life? Do you have a role model?
Ideal role model? Not really. I have a few role models. There's one lady called Navina Cox. She's also a transgender, but she has fully transformed. She lives in America and she's always fighting for transgender rights. She's very bold. She was a drag queen also at one time, but she also converted and she does entertainment shows. And yeah, and my
What do you
other
like about it?
my
What do you like?
my other idols are feminists. Those women who are fighting for women's rights, for fighting for women's liberation. And because I come from a background where I studied sociology and I took up gender studies, so I studied all the feminists that have grown from the 18th century to the 21st century. Of course, they have gone through many various phases where one time, women only wanted to have strong women power. But at the same time, now they include the women and men together. But very unfortunately, I'm not very sure this is the right place to talk about. There are some women, for example, lesbians. They are under the LGBT community, but yet again, they have some discrimination with the transgender community because to them we are not naturally born women. They are women. They didn't have to change. So they feel we are very different from them. It's a very small section of the community lah. Unfortunately, there is but this is something that needs to be rectified. And at the moment, I'm not sure how that can be rectified because I'm concentrating on my own community. I'm not really totally concentrating on the lesbian and the gay community side. So that is something that eternally they need to fix.
Absolutely. So yes, you are right that they may feel that they have an edge because they don't have
Uh,
to go through all these transitioning phase. And
mm,
when we talk about the transition, and that's where the lies the pain, right? The
mm, mm,
pain and the trauma and the struggle.
mm,
So
mm.
maybe in the LGBTQ community, the lesbians do not face all these challenges, and they may feel that they have an edge. Is that what you meant? And that's the reason they
Yeah,
feel that.
and one thing I also advocate in the transgender community is for those who have transformed, those who are now have a good opportunity in life to help the other transgenders to grow up at the same time. That is something that is lacking. A lot of transgenders, some of them are in a better position in life. They are much more luckier than the other transgenders. However, they are kind of thinking of themselves because they are in a very high position in society and they feel they have earned it. Yeah, correct. I agree, you have earned it. But try to help those below you to grow at the same time. That is something that also lacking. That they kind of leaving the other transgenders who are trying to grow up left out. So that is where I'm trying to come in to actually help transgenders who are facing problems and how to cope with their lives to to build their self-esteem, to build their confidence. But of course, I only can guide them. My advice is in a guidance phase to guide them. The rest is up to them how they want to build up their life.
Absolutely.
So in a way, I persuade leadership. Okay? I create leadership around the transgender community because we all of us have leadership in ourselves. Depends on how we want to lead our lives, how we want to lead people. So I cultivate leadership also.
Beautiful. So you talk about the leadership trait, and you're absolutely right. I also feel that, when the thing that we are aiming at, we are aiming at inclusion in the
Mm.
mainstream, in the society. And that's the reason we
Mm.
connected, right? Even though we
Yeah.
knew each other since 2019, but I never had the comfort to approach you to ask you about your life journey. But when I came across this, this session, and which focuses on Pride Month and LGBTQ community, I had the confidence to approach you. Still, I was like, not sure whether you will accept to be the guest speaker or not, but I was
Oh, definitely accept.
happy that you accepted. And I feel this is the right way that we aim for inclusion and compassion from the society rather than only from one community, right? Right
Mm.
now, there is a lot of biasness, there is a lot of discrimination. If that inclusion happens from society, then you may not have to look from other LGBTQ community members. If that support and compassion comes from the society itself, and that can only
Right.
come when we are aware. Right now, the main society, they are not aware of the challenges what the LGBTQ community goes through. For
Mm.
them, for us, maybe for a layman, it's just that you all are different. But no one sees the pain and the struggle that you all go through. Trauma seems to come be part of your, your life. The childhood trauma. When we talk about the suicidal rates, these are not very common things. And maybe as a layman, we don't even face such kind of struggle ever in our life. So I think
Mm.
all that we are aiming at is a little bit of compassion and understanding, awareness and acceptance, right, from by the society. Okay. So we did talk about your life as a child. You did not mention about your school. Did you face a lot of bullying and discrimination at school
No.
also?
When I was schooling, I didn't open up at all. I was not. I just did everything out. During my school time, I was closeted. So I was cross-dressing at home. That was during my cross-dressing phase. So everything I did was in at home. I didn't go out. I didn't have.
You
So
did.
none of my friends knew about it.
Okay. Okay. So you did not reveal your identity
No.
preference to your
No.
friends and all.
Because
Okay.
my transition state started very late. I would say that my transition stage started about 6 years ago only. My stepping out would say about 10 years ago.
Okay. So that means you were in deep pain all throughout. You have
Yeah.
hidden, you have tried to, hide your identity and also
Mm.
keep everything within. So that is more dangerous, I would say. So, when we talk about, the transition phase, there are a lot of countries also provide, it's part of the medical insurance. So did you get that support in terms of medical insurance, or you had to bear everything from your pocket for your transition?
Honestly, medic insurance do not cover transition at all. It does not cover. So okay, right now at my transition stage, I'm spending my own money.
It's
The medical society does not. Very unfortunately, it doesn't cover transitioning because it is deemed as cosmetic surgery. So this is something actually the the LGBT community is actually fighting on to change the laws to include transitioning as part of a medical surgery, not cosmetic surgery. But I'm not very sure how successful this will be because it's a long fight still. So our fight to be ourselves, I would say, is only just starting.
I am not sure. So Singapore, as you said, it's not part of the medical insurance, and even in US,
Oh.
I'm not sure of the exact amount,
No,
but
yes, it's not. It's not.
$2,000 I think they provide, and $2,000 is nothing.
But you
It,
see, the difference in other countries is that they have welfare. In some countries, like in UK or US, the LGBT community are better maintained, where they can tap in their welfare. There's a welfare fund for them. They have what I would say a good support system. They have a committee that supports them, and that committee helps them to find the money to go for the transition. But in Singapore, there's no support at all for all this.
okay. So, is it easier for you to find other community members? Do you all have um any community membership? Like in India, I think only few people have started. It was not there. And we have NAS Foundation in Delhi, which is like, it's quite famous,
Oh.
who are supporting the cause of LGBTQ. So when we talk about Singapore, is it difficult for you all to find other community members? How do you reach out to your community members?
Through networking, there is there is a wait, sorry, there is a LGBT community. There's only one in Singapore, which helps the community members to come together. They create activities, but the mindset of the LGBT community in Singapore, it is still one that lives in fear of coming out.
Okay, so even
We
in
in
that
Singapore,
community, you are not
no,
open.
no, in Singapore, the concept of being LGBT is still not well accepted. People are still frightened to go out. It is opening up, I say, but the Ferris wheel is turning very slowly. It is turning, but it's turning very slowly. So we have a long way to actually create a culture where we get total acceptance of who we are. Because, for example, there are still companies who don't accept LGBT. And there are religious groups who are against LGBT community. And there's the older generation that are also against the LGBT community. So a lot of them are closeted, and it's because of the Asian values that Asian communities have adapted. They find it very hard to come out because if they come out, they're disgracing the family, especially when it comes to a Chinese family. I'm not sure about the values in the Indian society, but I heard also it's very difficult at the same time.
Absolutely. So,
But but the thing is, I noticed in India there are more communities because India is a bigger country. So I see that there are many. I mean, there are some LGBT communities being created in India itself, which I'm very happy about. But Singapore is a very small country, so the most you can have one, and they are just afraid to expand.
so Vanessa, I think I've lost you. Are you there?
Live in peaceful harmony.
Yeah, I think I had lost you in between. So,
Oh.
yeah, you did talk about India. So in India, of course, the laws were made by the Britishers. So only in 2014, when, we do have Article 14, which talks about equal rights. So in 2014, LGBTQ was made part of the constitution, and they were given, awarded as the third gender. So male, female, and the third gender. So that's in India. Of course, in 2019, and there are a lot of protests and all, and a lot of petitions have been, put in the Supreme Court of India uh, for the rights of LGBTQ. But at least now it is part of the constitution, and they do have equal rights. So there is protection against discrimination and harassment. So any kind of harassment is also protected. And also in India, we do have POSH, so which is prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. So if the person identify, himself as a woman, then even she is protected under the POSH laws. So all these are there. Of course, these would be more in theories if people, the general public, are not aware. So the laws are there, but till the time people are aware, it will only remain as a law, right? I wanted before we sum up your interview, I wanted you to share about, when we talk about LGBTQ community, can you help us understand? Of course, L stands for lesbian, G for gay, B is for bisexual, T is for transgender, Q is for queer, and now we also have a lot of other additions in this community. Would you like to talk more about this, and you'll be in a better position to help us understand how each one are different, and if you would like to talk about the myths, the do's and don'ts.
Honestly, Priti, I've been advocating for the community to take away these labels because it's too many, it's too confusing. I always tell the community, if you want to keep the labels, just keep to 4 LGBT. Because you create more labels, you are confusing society. And when you confuse society, society cannot even understand you. They don't know who you are. Because the problem with the LGBT community is that some of them change labels. They start jumping up and down, back and forth. And this really confuses society. Society doesn't know how to approach you. People will not be able to approach you. And furthermore, when you have labels, there are chances people will treat you very differently because you are labeled as one. So people will treat you according to that label. And they give excuses to make rules on how you can be treated as according to your label. So if there's no label at all, then there's a universal treatment of everybody in society. Society is one. You have labels, society is never one. LGBT community always advocate to be one. But how can you be one when there are labels? So this is something I always tell the LGBT community, but of course they're not happy with me. They'll never be happy with me when I start arguing on this. Because I believe that we should take away this label LGBT because I myself is confused with the labels. I need to explain to you LGBT. When it comes to you LGBT, pansexual or whatever they have, I'm also very confused. Because I believe of knowing who you want to be in life. I know I'm a woman, and I know, and I consider myself as one. I don't consider myself as an LGBT. Even though I respect the LGBT community and I respect the label if they want to keep the label. But I believe that we should go away with this label and become one. If not, we can never become one in society. We will always have that label. Okay, you are lesbian, you are gay, you are transgender. Okay, I will treat you as one. I don't want that to happen, but no, this is something that is very difficult to change, and it will take a very long time for the LGBT to change this mindset, which I'm not very sure whether I will succeed in it. So I have my own agenda of how I see the LGBT community also. How I want to view myself.
So currently, what they have in order to make it simpler, how we differentiate is like binary is the public who can associate themselves as male and female, and
Yeah.
transgender is non-binary. That's how
Yeah.
they call. And yeah,
No,
so thank you for the
not
opinion.
for non-binary, you can either be male or female. So a transgender cannot be considered non-binary also. Because the transgender knows what they want to be. That's a different. Non-binary are people who not sure who they want to be. One day they can be man, one day they can be male, one day they can be female. But when it comes to a transgender, we know what we want to be. So we are kind of binary in a way.
Thank you for your opinion. And yes, you have shed a lot of light on, the confusion part, which even the general public is confused. And that's the reason they know less about it and they do not understand. So we will get more into, deep into it. So when you have your, session with the audience of Sensia Global in Pune, then maybe perhaps you can talk about this because I'm sure these kind of questions may arise from them because the general public is confused. Okay, so we will not talk more about LGBTQ definition right now. I would like the audience to know about your awards and accolades because you have won a lot of awards and accolades. So would you like to talk about that?
Well,
And with the
yeah,
year.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
the year and
actually, very unfortunate. I never memorized it. I didn't know I won Inspiration Awards, Bravery Awards, uh, Education Awards. But to me, honestly, there are awards already. It's like, you're winning a pageant and getting a crown. It is how you define the crown. It is who you are. So what's my award don't define me. I define who I want to be. Yes, I'm happy to have these awards, but I would prefer to concentrate on my character than having a reputation of many kind of awards. So that's me. So I mean, if you want me to memorize my awards, I can do so before. Yeah, very unfortunately, I do have to apologize here. I did not memorize my award titles. All I can tell you is that I received awards on bravery, on inspiration, on being iconic, and also on being an educationist.
And you write lovely poems.
Thank you.
I've seen those. Any parting words for your audience?
I would say that I would like to make society a lovable and sustainable one, where all of us can come together as one, to understand each other, to love each other. That is how we build community relationships. That is how we become leaders. That's how we do business together. So I always see society as one. I do not see you as something separate. So that is what my goal in life is, something that I want to build, is to make the world a more lovable and sustainable one, for us to come and understand each other, for society to grow together. Because I believe in.
Thank you. Lovely parting words. You believe in one community, and we also find you as part of the same community.
Are
So
you
as you
there?
can, yeah, as you can see, I've also worn a rainbow color dress, and I do have rainbow color beads supporting the cause of Pride Month. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you so much for your valuable time, and we will be looking forward to your guest session on 24th. Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.